So this critical take is actually a video response to NeoTurboManiac, who I believe this past summer, or at least several months ago, came out with a video on being a small gaming channel on YouTube. What's it like? And it was a really thought-provoking and passionate video. I will link to it below. And I just wanted to kind of add my voice to that discussion. This has kind of become an issue for me. I'm putting together kind of the best of Game Escape, kind of the final retro critical podcast. I said that the last episode was kind of the last live episode, and then I would do a little short intro stuff for the 14th episode and add as audio files some of the better, at least in my opinion, better vlog-like videos that I've done on YouTube. And if you've noticed, I've taken down all of the admittedly silly on-camera videos where I'm wearing the glasses and all of that. It was fundamentally stupid. So I think that work will stand on its own in podcast form. But it kind of got me thinking as I've reorganized the channel yet again. What is it like being a small gaming channel? What can I bring to the discussion? And NeoTurboManiac points out that being a small gaming channel is like being a mom-and-pop business. The larger channels don't necessarily care about you as a subscriber. They don't care about you as a commenter. But the nice thing about being a small channel is that you can interact with your viewers. And I just had a wonderful instance of that today. A girl from somewhere in Asia contacted me and said, "Oh, can you teach me how to play Mahjong?" So I put out a little stream, and she watched, and I kind of taught her the basics about Mahjong. So that is the nice thing about being a small channel, is to have that interaction. And it did feel like a mom-and-pop business, and it did feel like the old days of YouTube where you were making videos for your community, and it didn't really extend beyond that. But as much as, and this was another point that Neo brought up, as much as making videos does add to the hobby, especially if you detach your YouTube productivity from wanting to be famous, from wanting to be counted amongst the top channels, it actually enhances the hobby. And I've always felt that. I've felt that this avenue of social media was perhaps the most meaningful to me, and the fact that I could talk about my hobby when, let's face it, in the world there are not a lot of people that you meet day in and day out who have a committed passion to retro gaming or a committed passion to video games in general. So coming online and offering the kind of videos I was offering and getting some great feedback, that was a lot of fun. But now I find myself in kind of the long-term position. I've been doing this now. It's going to come up on 4 years, I think, this May, that I've been actively producing videos. And I would say the luster has worn off a little bit for me. And I find that while I still enjoy it, and particularly as I've moved into more of a podcasting role, I enjoy being able to come out and offer that kind of analysis and criticism. I find that I'm better this way than being on camera. But nonetheless, there is a lot of work and a lot of time that goes in to making videos, as many have pointed out, and certainly the kind of stuff that I was doing wasn't exactly superior quality as far as video production. Nonetheless, I've gotten to a point where the interaction and the feedback, certainly, while it's not bad, it has dwindled. I think if you're a small channel, you have to deal with the fact, and perhaps now more than ever, even when I started in 2013, you have to deal with the fact that you will be ignored. That is the result of a lot of activity on social media. I've argued, and it was some podcast episode or one of the videos somewhere on the channel, that social media is essentially a way of commodifying attention. And when you're getting into something late in the game without any support, there is no way to garner a share of attention that will make what you're saying meaningful to a broader audience. So there's this kind of peculiar dynamic, and it's not just with YouTube, it's Facebook, it's blogging, it's Twitter. As passionate as you are, and as much as whatever it is that you're posting enhances your enjoyment of whatever hobby or activity you're posting about, you have to deal with the fact that no one will see it and no one will care. And then you get to the idea of creative control, creative input. I have always tried to produce material that is thoughtful, that even if you don't agree with what I'm saying, it will be an opportunity to either criticize me or interact or think about these issues in maybe a broader context or a different context. And that content just isn't popular. So you can find yourself in my position where you're doing something that you're committed to, you're doing something that's a lot of fun, and you don't get the feedback that makes the investment of time worth it. To say nothing of not making any money or having this commodified attention that you could trade against other opportunities, or you can just trade against a direct payment in the form of a sponsorship or stuff like that. Now, the flip side of the coin is that if you follow the trends, if you make videos like everyone else, and you try to be a personality that is very similar to the millions of other personalities out there, you become one of the crowd, you're a copier, you're not original, you're not authentic. So the act of making videos and kind of the reality of being ignored is going to follow you no matter what you do. And I think as a small channel, going through this and putting lots of time and lots of effort into creating content and having no reward whatsoever, or having no wider impact whatsoever, it wears on you after a while. And I look at some of the things that I've done. There are some videos that I've made that I'm very proud of that not a lot of people have seen. I tried to do the newsletter, which I thought was well written and interesting. No one really read it. The book that I wrote, which actually had a lot of personal benefit for me, and I don't regret investing the time that I did in writing it, even just to have the experience and to knock it off the bucket list. Nonetheless, it's a piece of writing that I think very few, if any, people will read. So far, I have one confirmed reader, and he liked it. But, after a while, you kind of ask yourself, you get into a mode, especially as you get older, and you kind of look back on the time that you've spent doing this, you come to a point where, at least I've said, well, I still like gaming, and I still want to game, and I still want to have that as kind of my hobby, but do I need to wire up all of the capture equipment? Do I need to edit down video to do this anymore? Is this adding to my enjoyment of the hobby in the way that it did when I first got into this? And for me, the answer is a resounding no, which is why you don't see a lot of gameplay on the channel anymore. To me, I would rather just come home if I have time at the end of a busy day or at the end of the busy week and just play a game. I think it's kind of very simple calculus. I can play a game, I can just by myself, with a drink and relax, or I can wire up the equipment and I can do a YouTube video, or I could stream it, and the result will be, in the end, a complete lack of engagement and sort of complete digital silence there in the ether. No one will see it, no one will watch it, no one will care. So I think the kind of bitter reality of it all for anyone who wants to get into the content creator aspect of things is that you're doing it at a time when, unfortunately, there's the market has been established. The big players are out there, and you can't really break through unless you're sponsored by someone, or you're pushed by someone, or you're doing something so outrageous, so outlandish that you will garner some attention. And I don't know that that's even possible on YouTube anymore. Certainly there are streamers out there who, through a variety of creative means of self-promotion, do get big audiences. I'm not going to go into exactly how that works here, although you can listen to some podcasting segments where I get into that. But I would say it's not worth it. I would actually tell people who are now considering, making a YouTube channel that there are more productive ways to communicate your passion about gaming, and streaming might be one of those things. Who knows what's coming down the road as far as social media, but if you have no connections and no online presence, developing one is extraordinarily difficult. You shouldn't go into this, if you are going to do it, you really, at this point, it's almost like you're recording yourself for posterity, for your own consumption, rather than for any kind of broader impact on the community. And another kind of disturbing aspect of the whole existence as a small channel on YouTube is that a lot of the big YouTubers, for all of their talk about loving the community and loving the fans and being all about games, they don't tend to do a lot of shout-outs. They don't really promote from within the community. And, I've been lucky, actually, because Happy Console Gamer was nice enough. Sometimes he retweets my stuff, and sometimes, he came on the podcast and stuff like that. But, he's the exception. And granted, I don't watch tons of videos from everyone. I don't watch, for example, the Angry Video Game Nerd. I haven't followed people like Metal Jesus and Classic Game Room in a long, long time now. But at least when I did, no one ever, they didn't do any shout-out shows. Or I don't remember, and I'm not just talking about them, I'm just talking about in general. You don't see a lot of shout-outs. And the result is that if no one can discover what it is that you're doing, you will just not succeed at this at the level that you would like to. So, it's terrible to say to someone, hey, don't do this, especially if you're young and enthusiastic and you want to come on YouTube. There are some fringe benefits here. First of all, if you want to get into video production and you've got some skills in that area you want to learn, you just want an outlet to kind of tinker with that skill set, fine. YouTube is great for that. So certainly make gaming videos. But again, I think it is fair to just sort of warn people that this is a very crowded marketplace, and it may not be the place for gamers to kind of communicate and get their ideas out there. I think YouTube, I think for worse, I was going to say for better or for worse, it's trying to become a kind of mainstream cable-like product that is just promoting a very standardized kind of entertainment. And I don't think community-based content about video games or any other hobby really needs to be standardized. I think there's room for all kinds of different voices and presentations. I think that's being stamped out here on YouTube. So while I can't say I regret my time as a whole doing this and being a small gaming channel, I do feel like I've reached a point, certainly, where the act of creation, the outlet for creativity that YouTube does provide, still provides that, isn't really enough to kind of keep me going the way that I was. Now, this is not to say that you don't have this urge to come on and speak and have your voice out there, even if no one hears it. I still have that. I'm still doing it. I'm not doing it in the volume that I once was. So I think that will never die. But as far as using this to enhance the hobby, I think that, for me at least, and I think increasingly I would imagine for other creators who just can't get their stuff noticed, it just dies down and you move on, and you do get into this cost-benefit analysis, and you do look at your time as a resource that could be better committed to other things. So let me know what you think, and definitely go watch NeoTurboManiac's video. Again, very informative, very passionate on the subject.